The second issue, which to me is just as horrible and needs to be discussed, is his consistent berating and insulting and ad hominem attacks, particularly against women. Whether it's
Give
Kristen,
me a break.
What do you mean give me a break? Kristen Walker this week.
It's Kristen.
Caitlin Walker,
I'm
Caitlin
sorry.
Collins last week.
I worked with Kristen when I worked at the White House.
What do you give me a break?
Say
Have
that
you
you're
no
going up
shame
against
as a woman?
Things got very intense on Abby Phillip's CNN panel when Ana Navarro strongly criticized MAGA supporter Caroline Sunshine during a heated exchange. We are going to go through the key moments from this discussion, which also included Charles Blow and Hal Lambert alongside Navarro and Sunshine. The segment was full of drama, strong opinions, and emotional reactions from all sides. I will also share my own thoughts on what took place, so let's get into it and take a closer look at everything that happened.
President Trump's monumental meltdown. Tonight, the walls appear to be closing in on the president. His war in Iran is as unpopular as ever as it stretches into its 100th day. Americans are worried about their finances more than ever before, and he's suffered a series of legal losses that are throwing his priorities for a loop. And his own party is now fiercely pushing back on some of his agenda. It all comes to a head during this interview with NBC's Kristen Welker on Meet the Press this weekend. Welker pressed Trump on a number of conspiracy theories, first about January 6th rioters, then the lie that California's election is rigged. But instead of responding with evidence or proof of any kind, Trump resorted to insults and smears before he stormed off altogether.
You know that these elections are rigged. Your network knows that they're rigged. You know that I won an election in a landslide, and I got 94% bad press.
But, Mr. President,
you know why I got that? Because you have no credibility.
But you've never presented evidence that it was rigged. Let's keep talking about, I want to talk about Todd
You
Blanche.
have more evidence. There's more evidence than ever presented.
Let's talk
Your
about...
elections in this country, we're like a third world country.
But, sir,
your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked, and so is ABC, and CBS, and CNN.
But, Mr. President...
You're one-sided crooked networks. All right, let's call it quits, because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Mr. traveled all the way to Wisconsin for this interview.
One of the most revealing things about that exchange is that she kept asking for proof. There was no proof being put on the table. And when the president attacks the media, calling them biased, it's usually because they're correcting him on some very obvious falsehoods, like the one that he tried to repeat in that interview, Charles.
Like, the president wants to say this. You have to let me lie without interrupting me. You have to let me lie and not push back on it. And if you don't give me that kind of coverage, then I do not like the media. And the other thing that the president does is that he substitutes himself for the country all the time. I think people have to really be careful when they listen to him, because as an authoritarian thing, when he says that they are the enemy of the country, he really means that they are the enemy of me because they won't let me lie. When he says that people are attacking the country, he really means that they are attacking him. The substitution is a very real thing that happens with Donald Trump in the way that he communicates. And I think everybody needs to pay attention to that.
Why can't Trump take corrections, tough questions? Why can't he put proof on the table of his assertions?
Well, I think you watch the president more than anybody, and I hope everybody at this table would be honest about the fact that the president of the United States takes more tough questions on a daily basis than just about any other president in the modern era. Certainly the last one that we had. Oh, no, I think he should do this two to three times a week. This was a great interview.
Storm out of interviews?
Oh, no, absolutely, because the president's base and most of the country still views the mainstream media as very biased against them. They feel very demonized by the media. They feel very misunderstood.
The reality is that most Americans do not support Donald Trump. More than 60% of the country sees him in a negative way, which shows that a majority of people are not with him. Even though his supporters often claim otherwise, the fact remains that most voters are not on Donald Trump's side.
By the media, they don't feel like the mainstream media has done enough.
I asked why won't he present
to try to
actual proof of the thing that he's claiming?
Can I talk about that? Because that's always the comeback. Where's the evidence?
Yeah, because
the evidence is this.
If you're going to claim fraud, there should be some evidence.
Okay,
That's
the evidence is this. You have a California system that enables fraud to happen easily. You don't have voter ID. You have mass mail-out ballots. You have voter cards.
That's not evidence. That's
time out.
That's just a description
of
an electoral system.
It's an electoral system that's ripe for fraud.
Ripe for fraud is not fraud.
And then you have
not fraud.
No, but then you have statistical anomalies where you have Rahman, who was third place, was getting 20% of the vote, And then the vote after the election day, she gets 40% of the vote.
So
That's a total.
Speculation is also not proof. It is so infuriating to watch people try to make speculation into proof.
We are going to
It's not
spend
speculation,
a
that's
whole
data.
segment.
That is not data.
We're going to spend a whole segment
not
on the
data.
California race in just a moment. So we're going to talk through some of the stuff that you're talking about there. But I actually think that we can boil it down much more simply than this. Trump falsely believes that he won the 2020 election, that he lost. When he is challenged on that, he gets upset and he storms out of an interview. Explain that one.
No, they were talking about the mayoral race in California, and he was talking about the fraud there, the rigged election there.
Okay.
That's what they were
It's rigged? You believe it's rigged?
I do believe it's rigged.
Oh my God. We can wrap this show up there.
100% rigged.
We can wrap this show up there.
He turned that into talking about his favorite obsession, which is 2020.
What's that?
In that exchange, he also was talking about the election that he lost in 2020.
Well, he talked about
that,
the
right?
95%. He also got mad because
So,
he has 90%,
what's the explanation for that?
95% negative press coverage. He's sitting there in a negative press interview.
What does press conference
What is
have
a
to do with
negative
the fact
press
that she
interview?
asked for proof of fraud?
Here's the thing about the president. When he was candidate Trump and they had the primary and he lost to Ted Cruz, the first thing he said was it was rigged. And he insisted that the state officials change the actual results of that primary. You remember that. And Ted Cruz was very upset by that because he called Ted Cruz a liar. That was 10 years ago. So to characterize his conversation without an understanding of who he has been, I think is unfair to the conversation we're supposed to be having now. He's always done this.
Caroline also suggested that Trump loves taking tough questions, but here is his very real history of not taking tough questions that he doesn't like. Listen.
Your first statement was, are you ready for tough questions?
Are you?
That's no way to talk. It's no way to talk. I think we have enough of an interview here, Hope. Okay, that's enough. Let's go. Let's go.
The only way it's not going to happen again is you have to solve the problem of the presidential rigged election of 2020.
Mr. President, if I'm... One more question.
The woman that you said was a great doctor in that video that you retweeted last night said that masks don't work and there is a cure for COVID-19, both of which health experts say is not true. She's also made videos saying that doctors make medicine using DNA from aliens and that they're trying to create a vaccine to make you immune from becoming religious.
Well, maybe it's the same, maybe it's not.
Last week, well, real quick.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
There's
no.
hold on, because I haven't.
Before we get to the intense back and forth between Ana Navarro and Caroline Sunshine, I want to pause for a moment and highlight something that, to anyone outside the MAGA circle, is already quite clear. Donald Trump has consistently shown that he is extremely sensitive when things do not go his way, and many of his most loyal supporters often respond in a similar manner. Whether Hal Lambert truly believes the points he is making or not, what we often see from MAGA commentators on Abby Phillip's panel is an attempt to create confusion and blur the facts. They present arguments and situations in a way that can make ordinary viewers question whether there might be some truth behind them. Someone listening to Hal Lambert calmly making these claims could easily start to think maybe there was something wrong with the election. Maybe there is actually a hidden issue here. However, as Charles Blow has pointed out, there is simply no real evidence to support these claims. Study after study and investigation after investigation have been carried out on voter fraud, and the findings remain consistent, showing that it is not a widespread issue and there is no proof behind the conspiracy theories being promoted. Despite this, Donald Trump continues to repeat these claims because he refuses to accept defeat, and MAGA figures like Caroline Sunshine, Hal Lambert, Scott Jennings, Ben Ferguson, and others who appear on shows like Abby Phillip's continue to help keep this narrative alive. Their approach is aimed at creating doubt and making the truth seem less certain than it actually is. Lambert even suggests that 95% of media coverage is negative toward Donald Trump, but he does not provide any evidence for this and seems to be stating it without any real basis. For years, I have believed that part of the reason Trump has remained such a powerful political figure is because a large part of the media has helped normalize behavior that would have been considered unacceptable from any other politician. As was also mentioned during the discussion, this pattern has continued for almost a decade. When Trump first began attacking the press and calling journalists the enemy of the people, the media could have pushed back much more strongly. News organizations could have refused to treat these repeated insults and attacks on reporters as normal political behavior. Instead, many continued to cover him in the usual way, which kept the attention on him. The reality is that Trump thrives on attention and publicity, and if that constant spotlight had been reduced, he likely would have struggled much more, because being at the center of attention has always been one of the things he values the most.
That I think need to be addressed in the clip that we saw from the Meet the Press interview. The first is him alleging that he didn't lose the 2020 election. Trump and his team filed over 60 challenges in court and lost every single one of them. So there is no evidence that held up in court. That's number one issue. The second issue, which to me is just as horrible and needs to be discussed, is his consistent berating and insulting and ad hominem attacks, particularly against women. Whether it's
Give
Kristen,
me a break.
What do you mean give me a break? Kristen Walker this week.
It's Kristen.
Caitlin Walker,
I'm
Caitlin
sorry.
Collins last
I've
week.
worked with
The woman
Kristen
he
when I
called
worked
Piggy.
at the White House.
Will you give me a break?
Say
Have
that
you
you're
no
going up
shame
against
as a
those
woman
women? No.
that we hear
Kristen
him
was
call them
tougher
ugly
on-
and piggy and
Kristen
crooked
was
and
tougher
liars
on him
and
in
stupid
that interview
and bad journalists?
than I have
Have
seen
you
most.
absolutely
That's
no
probably the
solidarity with
toughest
women?
interview I've
Oh
seen
my
him
God, I
face
can't believe you
to
sit
date.
here and tell
He
me to give
pushed
you a
up
break.
against
But
her
in
because
this
she was a
network,
tough
we hear
journalist.
him
Not because
tell
she was a
our
woman.
journalist that
Caroline,
she's not fit to be a journalist because she doesn't smile. How dare you tell me to give you a break? Have some shame.
Why would the president tell a woman that she doesn't smile enough when she's working, asking him a question?
Because he's an equal opportunity offender. And let's not pretend. Let me explain how the game.
Give me another example of
Let
him
me explain
telling
how
a
the
man.
game. Let me explain how the game works.
Give me an example of him being equal
Let me explain how the game
opportunity
works because
with
Caitlin
that
got something out of that
particular
exchange
insult,
too.
Caroline.
The president gets a lot out of having combative exchanges with journalists. His base loves it. His poll, that's why I said he should do 2 to 3 more of these a week. His poll numbers go up. But Caitlin's getting something out of it too. So many journalists have made their careers in this country off of being combative with President Trump, Caitlin Collins included, Jim Acosta, many former people. It is all part of the game. It is all part of the
It's
theater.
not a
She's
game.
tough.
It's
She
not-
can
how's
take
it a
it.
game
But
to
the
you?
fact that you guys are going to call this a woman problem, Kristen did one of the toughest interviews I have seen someone do with the president. Up
And
to
he
date,
walked up
she
and
deserves
left
credit
because
for
he
that.
couldn't
But
take it.
He didn't push back.
She
She's a
flew all the
woman.
way to
He pushed
Wisconsin,
back. It
left
was tough
her and
questions.
did
Grow up.
went to do her job. No, the guy needs to grow up. He's the president of the United States. He needs to grow up, and instead of walking out, having
many
a
interviews did
tantrum
Biden
and
do?
taking-
How many interviews did Biden
And
do
how much
like
did you
that?
criticize
Did an interview.
Okay, Biden is back in the White House. We can discuss it.
The Biden is like a reflex.
Separate
Jesus.
conversation
It's the truth.
than just
So the 2020 election.
Biden, blah, 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 Biden,
Guys,
blah, 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 blah,
one
blah,
at a time,
Biden.
please. Elsie, you were making a
Jesus.
point.
I get it. You want the president to look good.
I get it. You want to talk about 2020. I mean, I'm bringing up
he
Biden.
does.
You said
I actually brought up 2015 when he started beginning the lies
You did that too.
about talking about how elections have been stolen. I was just letting you know there's a pattern here that's been 2 years long. That's why I brought that up. But to the point I'm trying.
Donald Trump is the one sitting in the White House right now, yet people like Hal Lambert still seem fixated on bringing up Joe Biden at every opportunity. Even years from now, if they continue appearing on television, they will likely still be asking, what about Biden? That is why Ana Navarro's response felt so effective, because she immediately cut through that distraction. In the end, this is often the fallback argument they rely on when they struggle to give a strong defense of the man who has become the central figure of their political movement. Instead of directly addressing the issues, they tend to shift the conversation elsewhere. Trump supporters may continue to claim that he is widely admired and overwhelmingly popular, but those talking points do not really change the reality. Their arguments often circle back to Biden because there is limited ground to stand on in comparison. Personally, I never considered Biden a particularly strong president either, but at the very least he presented himself in a manner that reflected the dignity of the office. Donald Trump, on the other hand, often turns politics into a spectacle, and that contrast is hard to ignore.
Say right now is that what do you want this nation to gravitate towards? The behavior that we've seen in which you berate women, or behavior in which you learn how to negotiate with someone that you don't agree with, but you don't need to yell or get up
It's
and
not
leave
about
out of
women,
an
it's
interview.
about-
It's the one way that you
So
will
Hal,
berate women because
Hal,
apparently
let me
it's
ask
good
you
for
this
your
because
image.
I hear you guys pushing
That's
back
not- yeah.
on LZ and Anna and suggesting that maybe this is somehow about Joe Biden, which it's not. Are you comfortable with Trump being challenged on something, and rather than defending his point, just simply storming off of
Look,
an interview?
he did defend his point. She kept on and on with the same
How did
question.
he defend it?
What did he defend?
He said that he thought
Where's
the
the
election
proof?
was rigged. He answered the
Yeah, and
question.
she asked for proof, and he provided
But
what?
it goes back. He talks about what I just said. If you look at the whole election
You did what
system
you
in
said didn't make any
California-
sense.
Of course it does.
No, it doesn't make any
listen,
sense.
and
it's not a fact.
I just want to be
And it's not
clear.
proof.
I just
It
want
is a fact.
I just
It's
want to be
not
clear.
proof.
We are going to tackle what you were saying about California, because there is no proof of what
There
you're
is
saying
no
about
proof.
California. But in this particular segment, I want to deal with the long running Trump obsession, which he also brought up in that interview, with his loss in 2020, which he has now tasked the government with trying to validate, even though there's no proof of it. Why is it that when he is challenged on that, he can't answer for it?
Look, we know there were, after the fact, we know there were problems in Arizona. We know there were problems in Georgia.
my God.
We know after
What were
investigation.
they?
You can't prove that in 45
What
days.
were they,
okay?
Hal? It's been 6 years.
What were they?
What were the problems?
There were problems with the voters in Georgia. They
What's
found
wrong?
there
Where's the
were
fraud?
voters that were
Where's the
there were voters
fraud?
that
There was no problem
How
in
many
Arizona.
fraudulent votes were cast in Georgia? Because I live in Georgia. I want to hear you live.
And I lived in Arizona.
That's a lot. Okay, first of all,
I lived in
we can't
Arizona.
have this
There was
conversation.
nothing
We can't have this
wrong with
conversation.
Arizona.
This man just said that there were thousands of
the more
false
you guys
fraudulent
yell
votes.
there's no fraud, the more likely there was fraud.
No,
That's
you are,
amazing.
no, the
No,
more
no.
that you lie, the more we're going to push back on the fact that you are
81
lying.
million votes.
The Heritage Foundation keeps the
81
largest
million.
database of voter fraud.
This is so
of
ridiculous.
anybody.
I wanna
And
walk off
they keep
this
30.
thing.
They keep,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm going to finish this point. I'm going to finish the
Hold on
point.
a
They keep 30 years. They've tracked 32 elections, 100 million votes. They have found 39 total cases
That's so
of
absurd.
voter
It's
fraud.
so
Well,
absurd. That's absurd.
The Heritage Foundation is
where's your
absurd.
proof?
Where's
Where's your proof?
Where's your proof?
I just cited my source. What is your source?
I got a question for
I
you.
just cited, no, because I don't want
Wait, hold on,
I want to
Hal.
know what your source
Hold on,
is.
Hal. You said
What
it's
is your
absurd.
source?
Why is it
Mine is
absurd?
the
Here's why
Heritage
it's absurd.
Foundation.
Do you think there's no H-1B visa
Where's
fraud?
your source?
Do you think there's no
You
Medicare
don't-
fraud?
you don't have
Do you think
any
there's no
source.
home health care
There-
fraud?
and this
Can
is
you
the-
let me finish?
What Hal Lambert does here is bring up a series of unrelated talking points that do not really connect to the main discussion about elections. And honestly, that points to a bigger problem. Networks like CNN keep giving airtime to people who often avoid directly engaging with the facts. I am not sure who should replace them, but this pattern keeps repeating itself. Donald Trump often seems unable to clearly separate facts from opinions or even fiction because he tends to operate within a version of reality that is shaped around his own narrative. As for commentators like Hal Lambert, it is difficult to tell whether they truly believe what they are saying or whether they are simply choosing to repeat arguments they know are weak. On the other side, you have people like Charles Blow, who bring evidence, data, and documented facts into the discussion. The Democrats, progressives, or whatever label you prefer for those appearing on Abby Phillip's panel, usually come prepared with information that can be verified. Meanwhile, the response from the other side often comes down to simple statements like, "I disagree," or "that is not true," without any real proof to back it up. That creates a serious problem because meaningful debate depends on both sides working from the same set of facts. When one side is presenting evidence and the other side is only rejecting it without evidence, it becomes very difficult to have a productive conversation or reach any shared understanding of reality.
I'm not saying a source.
Guys.
You're not saying a source.
There's fraud all over
Where
the
is
federal
your
government. There's
source?
fraud all over the states. for
Where is
federal
your
funding.
source?
And yet there's no voter fraud?
You,
Hold on a
are you
second.
the idea that you're sitting here trying to convince
there
us
Medicare
based
fraud or
on
not?
no source whatsoever
Is there Medicare fraud?
to trust your word and
Unbelievable.
trust the president's word when we know he is lying.
Unbelievable.
And I want to know if you think that was the risk. I want to know if we're sitting here with two
Charles,
election
just
deniers.
a second.
Do you
I
think it's rigged as
actually
well?
do
Tell me there's no fraud in anything. Medicare, Medicaid, H-1B visas, nothing.
You have no source, and you're going to get louder and louder,
Charles,
and it's still not going to work.
California
Stop
won't
talking.
allow the federal government to
Louder
audit
and louder, and it's
Charles
still
and
not
Hal,
going to
stop
work because you
talking.
don't have a single source
They
for your
won't
whole
let them
body.
audit. They won't let them
Stop
audit
talking.
the polls.
Guys, stop talking. Because y'all are talking so loud. But to be honest, Hal, you're not saying anything.
Okay,
of substance
I think I
in
am.
this
No,
conversation.
you're
See
not.
what the viewers think.
Caroline,
Caroline,
my God, they won't let the federal government even audit their
hold on a
rolls.
second. Caroline
How
wants
can
to
we
have
get
a
source?
quick word, and then we're going to go to
By
a
the
break.
way, I would just add, the president has agreed to do a second interview with Kristen Welker,
girl,
which doesn't
please.
We wanna
surprise
know
me
you're an
at
election
all.
denier.
So Kristen will have her own time to, I'm
stop
sure,
for that.
ask him for further evidence.
ma'am.
It's like you've been upset about his
Ma'am.
running.
We are
You're
going
going
to
to
leave
second
that.
one, way more than Biden ever
We're going
did.
to leave that right there. Next for us, the president and MAGA are pushing false conspiracies about the California election.
Ana Navarro's blah, blah, blah Biden comment at the end was absolutely perfect because it summed up the entire conversation in just a few words. At this point, the whole situation feels completely absurd. Honestly, it is hard to see how people like Ana Navarro, Charles Blow, and other thoughtful panelists manage to sit through these discussions night after night, other than the fact that they are likely paid very well for it. It can feel like stepping into an alternate reality where you are trying to have a serious conversation with people who are operating on a completely different wavelength. One of the most revealing moments came when Hal Lambert essentially argued that he believed his position was valid simply because it made sense to him personally. But that is the key difference between opinion and fact. An opinion can be strongly held, but that does not automatically make it true. Then, toward the end, he shifted toward the idea that viewers might agree with him, and that is where the strategy becomes clearer. Many of these MAGA commentators seem to understand that their claims often lack solid evidence, but the goal is not always to prove something directly. The goal is to create doubt. If they can convince viewers that fraud is everywhere, that institutions cannot be trusted, and that elections are unreliable, then they can plant enough uncertainty to make people question the entire system. The message becomes, if everything is corrupt, then why even participate? And that is where it becomes concerning, because voter turnout in the United States is already lower than many would like. There are likely viewers who watch these segments and think, that person sounds confident. Maybe there is something to what they are saying. Even without evidence, confidence alone can be very persuasive. Unless, of course, these commentators genuinely believe every claim they are making. I have known many MAGA supporters in everyday life, people I have grown up around and met in my community, and many of them sincerely believe these stories. When you try to present facts or documented evidence, the response often shifts to random videos, social media posts, or internet claims they have seen somewhere. At that point, having a productive discussion becomes very difficult because you are no longer debating evidence, you are debating feelings, assumptions, and conspiracy theories. That is why I can understand Ana Navarro's frustration. There are moments when it becomes extremely hard not to lose patience. And for Caroline Sunshine to act as if Donald Trump's treatment of reporters, especially minority journalists, is being exaggerated feels completely disconnected from what many people have watched publicly for years. But that's my take on the discussion. What do you think? Do you find yourself agreeing more with Ana Navarro and Charles Blow? Or do you think Hal Lambert and Caroline Sunshine made stronger arguments? If you were sitting on that panel, would you be able to stay calm through a conversation like this? Or would your frustration eventually take over? Share your thoughts in the comments below.